These manifesto videos are just to give you a rough idea what the hell a manifesto is and what they're about. There's no real jokes in here, it's just fact. It's important that people vote in a general election. It's most important that people vote in this general election. Each of these manifesto videos will start with this clip, so they're all the same. So let's go. Let's take a look at Labour's manifesto. Good evening and welcome to Tacky TV News. Tacky TV, the channel with no budget, no viewers, but lots of opinion. The Labour Party launched its manifesto, so we're going to have a look at it. The Labour Party Manifesto says, for the many, not the few, and it's manifesto for a better, fairer Britain. And this is the foreword written by Jeremy Corbyn, the current Labour leader. A big part of being leader of a political party is that you meet people across the country and hear a wide range of views and ideas about the future. For me, it's been a reminder that our country is a place of dynamic, generous and creative people with massive potential. It's obviously not met me yet. But I've also heard something far less positive, something which motivates us in the Labour Party to work for the kind of real change set out in this manifesto. It is a growing sense of anxiety and frustration. Faced with falling living standards, growing job insecurity and shrinking public services, people are under increased strain. Young people are held back by debt and the cost of housing. Whole families are being held back from the life they have worked towards. I am constantly told of these pressures in the workplace. Faced with constant cuts and interference, our police, nurses, doctors, teachers and council staff are held back from delivering the public services they signed up to. Workers are held back by falling real pay and job security. Our entrepreneurs and managers are being held back from growing their business. If you are increasingly asked to do more with less, then you are not alone. Every election is a choice. What makes this election different is that the choice is starker than ever before. You can choose more of the same, the rich getting richer, more children in poverty, our NHS failing, and our schools and social care in crisis. Or you can vote for a party that has plans to change all of this, the Labour Party. So let's build a fairer Britain where no one is held back, a country where everybody is able to get on in life, to have security at work and at home, to be decently paid for the work they do, and to live their lives with the dignity they deserve. Let's build a country where we invest in our wealth to give everyone the best chance. That means building homes we need to rent and buy, keeping our communities safe with more police officers, giving our children's schools the funding they need, and restoring the NHS to its place as the envy of the world. Don't let the Conservatives hold Britain back. Let's build Britain that works for many, not just the few. And that was written by Jeremy Corbyn, leader of the Labour Party, and then it asks me to sign up, but obviously being a news channel I have to remain completely neutral. Brexit. Labour accepts the referendum result and Labour government will put the national interest first. We will prioritise jobs and living standards, build a close new relationship with the EU, protect workers' rights and environmental standards, provide certainty to EU nationals and give a meaningful role to Parliament through negotiation. We will end Theresa May's reckless approach to Brexit and seek to unite the country around a Brexit deal that works for every community in Britain. We will scrap the Conservatives' Brexit white paper and replace it with fresh negotiating priorities that have a strong emphasis on retaining the benefits of the single market and the customs union, which are essential for maintaining industries, jobs and businesses in Britain. Labour will always put jobs and economy first. A Labour government will immediately guarantee existing rights for all EU nationals living in Britain and secure reciprocal rights for UK citizens who have chosen to make their lives in EU countries. EU nationals do not just contribute to our society, they are part of our society and should not be used as bargaining chips. It is shameful that the Prime Minister rejected repeated attempts by Labour to resolve this issue before Article 50 was triggered. As a result, 3 million EU nationals have suffered unnecessary uncertainty as we have 1.2 million UK citizens living in the EU. A Conservative Brexit will weaken workers' rights, deregulate the economy, slash corporate taxes, sideline Parliament and democratic accountability, and cut Britain off from our closest allies and most important trading partners. Labour recognises that leaving the EU with no deal is the worst possible deal for Britain and that we would do damage to our economy and trade. We will reject no deal as a viable option and if needs be negotiate transitional arrangements to avoid a cliff edge for the UK economy. The NHS. In the aftermath of war and national bankruptcy, it was a Labour government that found the resources to create a national health service. our proudest achievement, and providing universal health care for all of the basis of need, free at point of use. Labour will invest in our NHS to give patients the modern, well-resourced services they need for the 21st century. Labour will ensure that NHS patients get the world-class quality of care they need and that staff are able to deliver the standards that patients expect. We will guarantee and uphold the standards of service to which patients are legally entitled under the NHS Constitution. By guaranteeing access to treatment within 18 weeks, we will take 1 million people off NHS waiting lists by the end of next Parliament. We will guarantee that all patients can be seen in A&E within 4 hours. By properly resourcing the NHS, Labour will stop the routine breach of safe levels of bed occupancy, and we will end mixed-sex wards. We will deliver the cancer strategy for England in full by 2020, helping 2.5 million people living with cancer. And by properly resourcing ambulance services, we will end the scandal of slowing ambulance response times. Labour will fund free parking in NHS England for patients, staff and visitors by increasing the tax on private medical insurance premiums. Labour will invest in children's health, bringing in new government ambition for our children to be the healthiest in the world. To guarantee the best possible services for patients, Labour will invest in our health and care workforce. A Labour government will step in with a long-term workforce plan for our health service that gives the staff the support they need to do the best for their patients. Labour will scrap the NHS pay cap, put pay decisions back into the hands of the independent pay review body, and give our NHS workers the pay they deserve. Labour will protect patients and legislate to ensure safe staffing levels in the NHS. Labour will commit to over £30 billion in extra funding over the next Parliament through increasing income tax for the highest 5% of earners and by increasing tax on private medical insurance, and we will free up resources by halving the fees paid to management consultants. Labour will boost capital funding for the NHS and ensure patients are cared for in buildings and using equipment that are fit for the 21st century. There's quite a bit more about that, but if you want to read that, then you can by all means go onto the Labour Party Manifesto, which is at labour.org.uk, Manifesto 2017. So, that's the NHS taken care of. Education. When it fails, it isn't just the individuals that is held back, but all of us. When we invest in people to develop their skills and capabilities, we all benefit from a stronger economy and society. At the time when working lives and the skills of our economy needs are changing rapidly, the government have the responsibility to make lifelong learning a reality by giving everyone the opportunity to access education throughout their lives. Schools. Conservative cuts are starving schools of the funding they need to deliver a first-class education. Crippling underfunding has driven up class sizes and forcing schools to cut corners. A narrow curriculum and a culture of assessment is driving away teachers, creating a recruitment and retention crisis. Labour will not waste money on inefficient free schools and the Conservatives' grammar schools vanity project. Labour does not want to return to secondary moderns. We also oppose any attempt to force schools into becoming academies. Labour schools policy will be built on the following foundations. Number 1. Investment. We will make sure schools are properly resourced by reversing the Conservatives' cuts and ensuring that all schools have resources they need. We will introduce a fairer funding formula that leaves no school worse off, while readdressing the historical underfunding of certain schools. Labour will also invest in new school buildings, including the phased removal of asbestos from existing schools. Number 2. Quality. We will drive up standards across the board, learning from our example of best practice, such as Labour's London Challenge, to encourage cooperation and strong leadership across schools. We trust in teachers and support staff professionalism to refocus their workload on what happens in the classroom. Accountability, this is number 3. Labour will ensure that all schools are democratically accountable, including appropriate controls to see they serve the public interest and their local communities. We will require joined-up admission policies across local schools to enable councils to fulfil their responsibilities on child places, to simplify the admissions process for parents, and to ensure no child slips through the net. Inclusion, number 4. Every child is unique, and a Labour-led education system will enable each to find their learning path through a wide choice of courses and qualifications. We will invest in the measures to close the attainment gap between children from different backgrounds, to give all children the best start in life, we will reduce class sizes to less than 30 for all 5, 6 and 7-year-olds and seek to extend that as resources allow. To aid attainment, we will introduce free school meals for all primary school children paid for by removing the VAT exemption on private school fees. Social Security. Like the NHS, our social security system is there for all of us in our time of need, providing security and dignity in retirement and the basics in life should we become sick or disabled or fall on hard times. Labour will always be on the side of pensioners and help ensure security and dignity for older people in retirement. As the Conservatives abandon their commitments to the older people, Labour will guarantee the state pension triple lock throughout the next Parliament. It will rise by at least 2.5% a year or be increased to keep pace with inflation or earnings, whichever is higher. The winter fuel allowance and free bus passes will also be guaranteed as universal benefits. The pension age is due to rise to 66 by the end of 2020. Labour rejects the Conservatives' proposal to increase the state pension age even further. We will commission a new review of the pension age, specifically tasked with developing a flexible retirement policy to reflect both the contributions made by people, the wide variations in life expectancy, and the arduous conditions of some work. Poverty in Britain is rising due to the Conservatives' attempt to balance the books on the backs of the poorest. They have slashed social security over the last 7 years, leaving more people in poverty, subject to a punitive sanctions regime and reliant on food banks. Labour will act immediately to end the worst excess of the Conservatives' government. We will scrap the punitive sanctions regime, scrap the bedroom tax, reinstate housing benefit for under 21s, scrap cuts to bereavement support payments. The cuts to workout allowances and universal credit and the decision to limit tax credit and universal credit payments to the first 2 children in a family are an attack on low-income families and will increase child poverty. With nearly 4 million children currently living in poverty, the majority in working families, we will commit to tackle child poverty with a new child poverty strategy. Labour will repeal the following cuts in social security support to people with disabilities through a new social security bill published in our first year in office. We will increase employment and support allowance by £30 a week for those in the work-related activity group and repeal cuts in the universal credit limited capacity for working elements. Increase carers allowance by £11 to the level of job seekers allowance. Scrap the work capability and personal independence payments assessments and replace them with a personalised, holistic assessment process that provides each individual with a tailored plan, building on their strengths and addressing barriers. Labour will end privatisation of assessments, end the pointless stress of reassessments from people with severe long-term conditions. The Conservative boast about the recovery of employment, but our labour market is failing. Real terms pay is still lower than before the crash, and jobs are increasingly low-skilled and insecure. A Labour government will invest in enforcement through a new Ministry of Labour and empower workers and their trade unions, because we are stronger when we stand together. So we will review the rules on union recognition so that more workers have the security of a union. At the same time as strengthening workers' rights, we will make work more fulfilling by using public investment to upgrade our economy and create high-quality jobs, while the Conservatives stand back and allow insecure work to spread. Labour will act to guarantee good jobs and businesses. Give all workers equal rights from day one, whether part-time or full-time, temporary or permanent, so that working conditions are not driven down. Ban 0-hour contracts so that every worker gets a guaranteed number of hours each week. Legislate to ensure that any employer wishing to recruit labour from abroad does not undercut workers at home, because it causes divisions when one workforce is used against another. Repeal the Trade Union Act and roll out sectorial collective bargaining, because the most effective way to maintain good rights at work is collectively through a union. Guarantee trade unions the right to access workplaces so that unions can speak to members and potential members. Propose 4 new public holidays bringing our country together to mark our 4 national patron saints days. These will be additional to statutory holiday entitlement so that workers in Britain get the same proper breaks as in any other country. Raise the minimum wage to the level of the living wage, expected to be at least £10 per hour by 2020 for all workers aged 18 or over, so that work pays. There are other things mentioned in the manifesto, obviously, such as the safer communities, leading richer lives, extended democracy, secure homes for all. I think I've done all the other ones. Yeah, I've done all the other ones. So again, if you want to look at Labour's manifesto, it is available online, free. I found it very easily. It's labour.org.uk, and then it'll just be Manifesto 2017. It's very important you've got a rough idea what's going on, particularly if you're going to vote, and you really should vote. There's still a short time to register if you've not already registered. I think it's the 22nd of May you've got to register by, and you have to register, it's not automatic. So please get yourself registered. If you wish to vote, then get all the information you can. I'll be doing similar videos for the Conservative, the Lib Dems, UKIP and maybe the SNP over the next few days. So hopefully this has been of some use for you. From Techie TV News, this is me signing off. So there you go then. That's the Labour Party Manifesto. Will Jeremy Corbyn get in? Only time will tell.